detectives, and welcome to my video for May. Now again, I had a really busy month. I'm just back from Dublin, where I went to be part of their International Literary Festival and work with the wonderful people at Poetry Ireland. I had such a great time, and if you managed to come see me, I hope you really enjoyed yourself. If you didn't, there'll be lots of opportunities coming up over the next few months. Have a look on my website for where I'm going to be next. I have a lot of appearances coming up soon because, of course, next month is the publication of the beautiful 5th anniversary hardback edition of Murder Most Unladylike. Look at it, isn't it beautiful? I'm going to be doing a video about it next week when it is published, so I can tell you all about it then, but look out for lots of events that I'll be doing to celebrate its publication. Now, I've also been reading a lot of books in the last few weeks, and this is a particularly good month for new books, I think, so I'm very excited about the recommendations I'm about to give you. The first book I've chosen is from an author whose works I love and who I've recommended on here quite a few times, most recently a few months ago, and it is Abi Elphinstone and her new book, Rumblestar. Now, Rumblestar is the beginning of a new saga from Abi, a new series of books. And the teaser for this series came out as a World Book Day book this year called Everdark. I talked about that, but this is the first full-length novel in the new Unmapped Chronicles series. Rumblestar is about a boy called Casper Talk who goes to boarding school somewhere in the UK. Now, Casper has a fairly miserable life. He is being bullied, and to try to stop the bullies, to try to deal with them, he makes lists, he makes rules, he tries to organize and regulate every part of his life. Of course, this does not work, and poor Casper is getting more and more miserable. He's also miserable because there are terrible storms hitting the UK, terrible cyclones, terrible winds that are whipping people off their feet, that are killing people, and he's very worried about this. It is said to just be global warming, but it seems to be something more than just global warming. It seems particularly dangerous, particularly deadly. And this is what's happening to Casper when he climbs into a clock. He climbs in there to hide, but when he gets out again, he doesn't get out in his own house where his bullies are chasing him. He gets out in a totally different world, in the world of Rumblestar. And when he backs out, he discovers that he is face to face with a little girl called Utterly Thankless and her pet dragon Arlo, who take him into custody because Utterly believes that Casper is a creature that has been foretold is going to turn up, and she has to stop that creature by arresting them. Of course, Utterly has got things slightly wrong. She's the sort of person that moves very fast, does things very quickly, and gets things slightly wrong. Utterly feels a little bit like me in that respect. I think I might do exactly what she does. But ultimately, Utterly and Casper realize they have to work together because there is something in the world of Rumblestar that is ruining its magic, that's stopping everything working, and only Casper and Utterly and Arlo the dragon, who I love, can work together to work out what is wrong and to stop the wicked presence in the world. Now, if you have read Everdark, you'll know a little bit about what that presence is. But if you haven't, don't worry, because this book explains it really well. So even if you haven't read Everdark, you can start with Rumblestar and you can have a great time. Abi's worlds are so immersive, they're so exciting, they're so beautifully described and imagined that I really feel like I am there. This was a book, normally I say when I love books I can't put them down, this was a book that I didn't want to finish because each chapter was just so wonderful. So I read it a few chapters at a time every night like a bedtime story, and it worked really, really well. As I say, I love Abi's writing, I love her world. This is just such a fun, exciting, fast-paced adventure, and I think, like me, you will not want it to end. This is perfect for anybody 8+ who enjoys adventure and imagination and magic, who imagines that they might one day do something very special to help or save their world. It is a perfect book for being read out loud. I think that's part of Abi's genius. Her words just leap off the page. The next book I've chosen, you will probably have seen everywhere this month if you go into Waterstones at all, because it is Waterstones Book of the Month for May, and it is Malamander by Thomas Taylor. This was a book that I picked up and I couldn't put down. I read the whole thing on a flight on the way back from Germany to the UK, and I just got completely sucked into this world. It is about a boy called Herbie Lemon, who works as the lost and founder at the Grand Nautilus Hotel in a seaside town called Erie-on-Sea. And as you can probably guess, Erie-on-Sea is extremely eerie. It's very creepy, it's very misty, it's very strange and atmospheric, and everyone in it seems to have a secret. They seem to be out to do something a bit nefarious, a bit hidden, and Herbie has to work out what is going on. And he has to do that because right at the beginning of the book, a girl called Violet suddenly turns up in his lost and foundry, begging for him to hide her from this wicked man who is chasing her. And Herbie, of course, does, even though he's somebody who doesn't have that many friends usually. And Herbie and Violet strike up a really close relationship. And Herbie decides he wants to work out what has gone on with Violet. Violet is looking for her parents who have been lost almost all of her life. So Herbie is kind of tumbled into this madcap, scary adventure that he has to solve. So it's a bit mystery as well as an adventure. I love the way this book is written. It is so atmospheric, it is so vivid and visual. Now, Thomas Taylor is actually the illustrator for the very first Harry Potter book, a illustration you probably will know really well, the picture of Harry standing in front of the Hogwarts Express on platform 9 3/4. It's an iconic image. Thomas created it, and that I think is probably why his book feels so very vivid and bright and interesting. It also feels very much like one of my favourite series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. It's got that kind of weirdness, that creepiness to it. So if you have just been watching the Netflix series, I think you will really enjoy Malamander. It's the beginning of the series, so there will be a lot more adventures for Herbie and Violet to go on. As I say, I loved this book. I couldn't put it down. I found it so fun. I think it's perfect for anyone 8+ who loves adventure, who loves mystery, who loves solving problems, and I think who is very visual and has a very vivid imagination. The next book I've chosen is also very vivid and visual, and it is Starfell, Willow, Moss and the Lost Day by Dominique Valente. Now, this book is set in a world called Starfell, and it's about a girl called Willow Moss. Willow is the youngest of 3 sisters. Her mother is a very important witch. Her sisters are very important witches. They all use magic very well. But Willow, even though she does have magic, doesn't have very useful magic. In this world of Starfell, everyone has just one magical ability, and Willow's is to find lost things. And so her family kind of undervalue her. They assume that she's not worth very much. They sort of ignore her, and she feels quite put upon. And then one day, Willow's life totally changes because the most important magic user in all of Starfell, Morag Vane, turns up and tells Willow that she's got a problem that only Willow can solve. Morag believes that somebody stole last Tuesday from Starfell. Somebody took the whole day, somebody took everyone's memories of that day, everything that happened in that day. And Morag needs to work out who took it and get it back, because otherwise the whole of Starfell might just collapse. The whole of time and space might collapse if this day isn't brought back. So suddenly Willow and her cranky kobold Oswin, who is one of my favourite characters, I loved him, they suddenly have to go on this massive adventure through Starfell. They have to leave Willow's home, Willow's family behind, to go on this amazing adventure with Morag. This is such a lovely book if you like magic, if again you like adventure. This is a very adventurous month, May. If you love all of those things, you'll really enjoy this book. It's very fast paced, it's very funny, it's very charming, and I really believed in the world of Starfell. I really loved the character of Willow and Oswin and Morag. All of the characters that they meet are just delightful. So I had a really lovely time reading this book, and I know you will too. And again, it's the beginning of a series, and I can't wait to read the next thing that Dominique writes. Again, it's perfect for 8+, anyone who loves adventure and magic and mystery. Now, the next book I've chosen is YA, it's young adult, but I've chosen it because it is, I think, one of the best books I've read in a long time for anyone who loves my series, who loves mysteries, who loves murder mysteries, but who really feels like they're maybe moving on a bit from Daisy and Hazel. They're getting a bit too old for my series. They want the next challenge, and I think this is it. It is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is, as you can probably guess, it's a murder mystery. It's set in the present day, it's set in a small English town, and a girl called Pippa is doing her A-level project on, she has to do on something, and what she chooses is a mysterious unsolved disappearance of a girl called Andy Bell. Now this happened about 5 years ago, and it just rocked the whole of Pippa's town because Andy disappeared, and then a few days later her boyfriend Sal very sadly committed suicide, and this has just never been fixed, it's never been solved. And Pippa, who I think is quite like me, she wants justice, she wants to understand what has happened, so she decides to go on a quest to find out what happened to Andy Bell. So what begins as a project soon takes on a life of its own as Pippa befriends Sal's brother Ravi, and so Pippa and Ravi become investigators working together to unravel the case. And it soon emerges that the truth of the mystery might lie very close to home for Pippa. This is a really clever mystery plot. It's very well set up. You can tell that Holly is a very good and logical plotter. I was very impressed by that. It's also, I think, something that you will really love if you love true crime podcasts. It's got that element, lots of documents in the case for you to sift through and think about. And again, if you love my books with all of their documents, you will love this book as well. It's perfect for anyone who wants to move on a bit from my books, who wants something a bit more modern, a very exciting, very puzzling. I solved the case. I worked out what happened to Andy, and the challenge this book is setting you is to see whether you can do that as well. So that is my challenge to you. Can you work out what happened to Andy Bell before the end of the book? This is Holly's first book, and I can't wait to read what she writes after this. It is really a brilliant debut, fantastic, fun mystery novel, and I love it, and I think you will too. It's for anyone 12 plus who loves murder mysteries. So I always end my videos by talking about one classic book that I used to love that I think you'll love as well. And this month my choice is Agatha Christie's Towards Zero. Now this is not one of Agatha Christie's more famous books, but it is one of my favorites. I think the ideas in it are brilliant, and I am a big fan of them. I won't tell you if this has ever influenced one of my books or whether it will in the future, but I love it. The murder in this book doesn't happen at the beginning of the book. It happens quite a way through it, because in this book, Agatha Christie is thinking about what leads someone to murder someone else, thinking about the motives, thinking about the movement of people towards zero, which is the moment of a murder. And it starts off with this old lawyer talking about an old case that he once worked on where a child killed another child. And the question the lawyer has was it a mistake? Was it an accident? Or was it all on purpose? And he won't say anything about this child. He's talking to a group of people who are going to be very important in this book. And what we slowly come to realize is that the child, the murderer, or the child who killed the other child, but they're not there, the murderer, is in this room listening to the lawyer. And we as readers have to work out who that child was, which character has this dark past. I think that is fascinating. I really, really love that as an idea. I would say this is perfect for anyone 12 plus who loves murder mysteries, who loves classic crime novels. As always with Agatha Christie, take it with a pinch of salt. There are some things in here that don't feel quite right in 2019. How she writes romances is, I think, a bit interesting compared to how we might think about romance in 2019. So as always, Agatha Christie's version of the world is perhaps not the version of the world that you should be reenacting in your own life, but I think they are great books, they are great plots, and I absolutely adore this book and the ideas that is inside it, which I won't tell you any more about in case it spoils anything for you. So that's it for me this month. That's it for me for May, and I'll be back in June, as I say, with my Murder Most Unladylike 5th anniversary video, and then my book recommendation videos as normal later in the month. Until then, I hope you've had a wonderful month. I hope you're enjoying the end of your school year. If you are doing GCSEs or A-levels, good luck. I think you're brilliant. Remember that you are more than your exam results. If you happen to be good at exams, that is really wonderful for you. You are very lucky. But if you are not good at exams, it doesn't mean you're not a good person, doesn't mean you're not going to do brilliantly in life, because there are a lot more ways to be clever than school believes there are, that school teaches and that school tests on. I know how fantastic you all are, and I have the greatest faith in your abilities. So good luck.